Until you figure out how to fix people,
True thing.
you're gonna have to trash.
So I thought we had jails for fixing people.
Was someone just
Maybe
asked?
misunderstood.
Well, and I've heard with people that, I've talked to, that have rental properties, the renters assume that the owner's responsible for it, when the owners say the renters are responsible for it. So when this comes back to this meter thing of where they can charge to the city, whoever gets that meter should be the one responsible for it. You know, because if the person goes in and rents the house for 4 or 5 months, and he just keeps throwing his trash out there because, well, the landlord's supposed to take care of this. And the landlord says, no, you're supposed to take care of this.
Some of the landlords don't
So,
Some landlords do, some landlords don't. It's like some people do and some people don't.
you know, most of the time when you move in there, you move in, you know, I have rental properties, and you're responsible for your utilities, you're responsible for your trash, keeping the yard mowed.
No, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out either after the third bag of trash in the third week, the truck hadn't come by to pick it up, hey, we got a problem.
Yeah,
Well, and then you go by and you say, hey, you know, you're supposed to
where's the ticket?
get your trash picked up. Oh, that's not my responsibility, that's the landlord.
Well, you just put it in the lease, right?
Seems a simple fix, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
That works for me.
but a lot of the landlords that showed up and we had this discussion, a lot of them do want it put on the meters because they have, you know, the renter has the utility in their name. That way they don't get stuck with a huge utility bill when someone just leaves. And I can understand that, and it would be a lot easier for landlords to be able to do that. I mean, it is in my opinion, it is the tenant's responsibility. It's their trash. I mean,
You also have to remember that about a dozen years ago, this was voted on by the community. And it was voted that they wanted to leave it as is.
well, about a dozen years ago, Kent was not as trashy as what it is now.
People don't remember that stuff.
No, you're right.
All what we voted on.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and, move on to our next topic, I know, Mr. Troy, you were here at the last one, we talked about, water pressure.
Yes.
Okay, and I wanted to, Mr. Chichester has already left, and that's the wrong one. I will read the email. Okay. There we go. All right, this is what I sent off to, Sea Light Gas and Water. Hello, I've had a few calls about the water pressure coming out of the fire hydrants, especially in the north end of town at Van Venner area. Was wondering what water levels have been in the towers over the last few months. Could you please pull a report and send it to City Council, to Ms. Brenda, plus we would like to have somebody at the next City Council meeting to discuss this issue. Mr. Chichester sent this on to, he goes, I will forward your request on to the board, back in touch with you depending on what their direction is. John Robinson is, I see no need for a representative to go to City Council meeting. We have CLGW, if you have any questions about your water pressure, it would seem that the question should be about the utilities. What could come, should not, what could, I'll get it out here. It would seem to me that the question about the utilities would come to you, meaning CLGW, and not the mayor. Not knowing all the facts, I would further say that this is a diversion from other problems. Mr. Green responded with results of not enough water pressure to fight fires. So I sent it. That's my response.
I have some more information for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Can you give it?
Because that was about as clear as mud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just have a sense that maybe City Light Gas and Water is not working cooperatively with the fire folks, or that there's just not it's not as good a arrangement as it could be.
Okay.
So
Got a question.
okay,
How old is your house?
137 years.
What type of water lines do you have?
I don't know what you mean. I spent,
Copper, galvanized, plastic?
It's not plastic, I know that, and
Probably gonna be galvanized and that being that old.
Well,
How old is,
I spent $500 this year to have a bigger line run into the house. The city came out and did that, they ripped up the street, put a bigger thing in there. But it's not the water coming into the house, it's the hydrants that,
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I was using that as an
Okay.
example. If you have galvanized water lines, you put a 3/4 inch water line in your house,
that's what I have in the
Today.
house, yeah.
50 years down the road, you might have that big a line coming through your pipe because of the sediments that's in there, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'm sure that's what, how old did you say our water system was?
1910, 1914, so.
And that is,
Washington Street was
It's in that range, most of them were put in before the first streets were.
Right, well, and Washington Street was the first paved
Paved
street.
street, and that is
that's
part
where
of the
you look.
information I'm getting, is that, maybe is the lines. But when I called today, knowing I was gonna come here tonight, City Light, Gas and Water, because last time I was here, I was said, go find out what the pressure is in your hydrant, okay? So I called them to ask about that, and the lady who answered the phone said, well, let me get someone to help you, and she came back and said, well, you need to call the fire department for that. And I said, well, I was told the fire department said I need to call City Light, Gas and Water. And so she goes away and she says, I'll have to have someone get back to you. So about an hour later, I'm leaving the house and I see a city truck across the street at the fire hydrant. And I walked over there and he said, well, I'm testing this. He said, but I gotta wait. And then 2 more trucks came up because his equipment wasn't good, and so other guys brought equipment. Anyway, very responsive to come out and get that. And so I'm going to butcher his name, Mr. Schindler, thank you, left me a voicemail while I was out that they had tested the water and pressure, the PSI, and it was 53.5 PSI. I have no idea if that's good, bad, or whatever, but the guy at the hydrant said it's a volume issue, not a pressure issue. And that gets back to the infrastructure, and so someone else, I called Mr. Chister back, thank you, got his voicemail, and he had someone else call me back, and who said that he had said he didn't want to come tonight because there'd be too many questions for him. So that's like,
Yeah, I know.
okay.
It became an option,
But anyway, he said, he said the hydrants are supposed to, he said it tested out, it would be 900 gallons per minute, said 750 is enough to put out a fire. I have no idea, I tried Googling, but when you go on the internet, you don't know what quality of information you're getting. I said, well, what about the infrastructure? I know these lines are really old, and I think that's getting back to the sediment issue. And I said, the government's giving money like crazy right now. Can we get an infrastructure grant? And he said, well, we have one right now for the water treatment plant. You can't have 2 grants at one time. And he said, we've got a new CEO, we're working on things, and asking these questions at the council meeting is the right thing to do because people haven't been asking the questions. So that's where it's like, they say ask the fire department says what, City Light and Gas and Water, and that's not casting any aspersions, Paul, it's just kind of like life. It's like, I guess what I'm trying to find out is, if we've got an infrastructure problem, well, let's figure it out and find a way to fix it. Because if it's a water volume issue, then if the pipes need to be replaced, they're replacing lead pipes all over the country right now. I guess ours may not be lead, but it's like before someone else's house burns down, and just watching all those water tanks going back and forth was just like, oh my gosh. So anyway, that was my other little bit of information. Paul, I don't know if that's the right PSI or what.
Well, it depends, you can get the same amount of PSI out of a line this big and also out of this big. It's the volume that comes through that pipe is what counts.
Right.
Am I right or not?
You gonna take the chain off my neck and let me talk?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Exactly, the volume. The volume's horrible. That's why we gotta have those tankers, because we don't have enough volume.
Where she's at, what size main is that?
It probably, chances are, it's probably a 4, but again, that ain't my sandboxes. I will be told, I'm sure later, but
Yeah.
it is. It's 4-inch line, it's horrible.
Randy,
Horrible.
are there any grants available You've been looking into.
She's correct that, City Light Gas and Water, about 2 meetings ago, I don't know, were you there? But anyways, the board approved them applying for a $25 million grant for the water treatment plant, which would be less than 50% of the cost of the water treatment plant. They are also having to face putting in new water wells for 2 or 3 different reasons. And I don't know the cost of those. I don't want to begin to tell you what they are, but it runs into the 6 figures, not the low 6 figures, I don't think. Again, please, that's their department.
Right.
I'm just hearing part of conversations. As far as more grants, I'm not for sure. We have had some minor talk about trying to work with them in some ways to see if there could make a dent in a little bit of the distribution system. In some of that minor talk, they were talking megabucks, let's just put it that way, megabucks to make a difference in putting in new distribution.
I've heard Malden is trying to do the same thing. I don't know. But I was also told that it's gonna cost them $20 million or above to replace all their water mains. That's not counting what goes to the houses. That'll be up to the customer.
I'm still hung up on something, ma'am. You were told to come to the council to ask these questions.
I was
correct?
told, I wasn't told to come here to do it, but that it was a good idea to ask the questions, because
And
questions had not been asked.
CLGW's board said that we need to ask CLGW, so I'm confused who we actually need to talk to
Well,
about this.
this was not, I guess, someone who had